everyone, welcome back to my channel and welcome in if you are new. My name is James and this is Screamers Digest, the channel where we discuss film, TV, all things horror, and a little bit about physical media as well. So if those are all things that you are into, please feel free to hit that like button, subscribe, and comment down below your thoughts on anything we discuss today. So today's video is going to be a tier list ranking of all 55 2024 films that I saw throughout the year. And yeah, I'm super excited to get into it. So without any further ado, let's do just that. So in top tier, we have Slap My Ass and Call Me Sally. I don't think I need to explain this one. This one is just a film that tickles all of the right gears. You know, this is a perfect film, a new classic, if you will. Just below that, we have Friends Till the End. So these films are really great, rewatchable, films that I know that I am just going to keep with me for the rest of my life. Right in the middle tier, we have Welcome to Primetime. So these are films that are almost good enough to be in the top two tiers. They're on the level of primetime cinema, but something about it for me just holds it back. These are just okay films. They sit right in the middle of the road. Just below that, in the next to bottom tier, we have You Can't Sit With Us. And again, I think this is pretty self-explanatory. These are films that cannot sit in my collection, and that's just what it is. However, the caveat being, if there is beautiful packaging, it can sit in my collection because at the end of the day, I'm a fickle bitch. In the bottom tier, we have Get Away From Me, You Bitch. These are films that I do not want in my sight. These are films I don't want to talk about. These are films I wish to never think of again. And I wish that they would get away from me. All right, so these films are all in random order. I just uploaded the images into the site and we are just gonna go from here. So starting with film number one, it looks like we have I Saw the TV Glow. This film I think is very interesting. When I originally saw it, I didn't love it, but I was very intrigued by it. I love its take on nostalgia and the darker side of that. I really love the soundtrack. It does lull you to sleep a bit, but it's very beautiful. And upon reflection with hindsight and everything, I see much more what the film's going for in terms of its message about identity and going through life feeling like you aren't reaching your full potential, you aren't really the person that you're meant to be, and how that eats away at you slowly inside as you rot away, basically. And I think this film is really, really great at what it's doing. I do think that this one could be something that gets better upon rewatch, but for now, I'm gonna have to put I Saw the TV Glow in Welcome to Primetime. I feel like it sits well right there. Things can change throughout this video. This is my list. I can change it at any point. Up next, we have a surprising film. This is actually an independent film that went straight to YouTube. I'm not sure if it's done any festivals or anything. I'm sure it has because it's just absolutely incredible. And that is Milk and Cereal. This is about a group of friends who are continuously pranking each other and posting it online, and one of them goes a bit too far, and we are here to be a fly on the wall to the chaos. And again, this one really, really good actually. But in terms of rewatchability, I'm not sure this is something I would want to watch a whole lot. So I'm gonna stick it in Welcome to Primetime. Up next, we have Dune Part 2. Dune Part 2, you guys already know if you saw my last video, the best and worst films of 2024, which I will link up in the cards. I'll put it down in the description. Dune Part 2 truly created an addiction in me. That's all I'm going to say about this film since I did talk about it in the last video. But this film goes straight up to Slap My Ass and Call Me Sally because holy shit, did this movie ride me all the way until the end. Next, we have a film that everyone seems to be buzzing about and everyone really, really loves, but I have to say that for me, I just thought it was okay. I really enjoyed it. I like what the filmmakers are going for. I see that. But I don't think that this film was nearly as shocking or twisty as most people made it out to be. I felt like after maybe 30 or so minutes, you kind of figured out what they were doing with the film. But great performances from Kyle Gallner as well as Willa Fitzgerald, who is the lead of this film. I thought that both of them were really, really great. And because of that, I am going to stick this one in Welcome to Primetime. Okay, up next we have another horror film that people are buzzing about. People love this one. I saw that it has like a 90 something percentile in Rotten Tomatoes, which is just really rare for horror films in general. But we are discussing Heretic, and I thought this film was really, really good, but I don't think it held me as much as it held some people. I wasn't truly that invested. I cannot see myself rewatching this a whole lot. I think that Hugh Grant is great, but honestly, I think out of the three main characters in this film, I would say that he was the least intriguing to watch. I actually really like the girl who we kind of spend the most time with by the end of the film. That's what I'll say there. I think she had an incredible performance. But again, this one's just going to go to Welcome to Primetime. I thought it was really, really well done, but it's not something I'm going to revisit a ton. Up next, again, this is a film I discussed in my last video, so that will be linked down below. But we have Smile 2, which is a sequel to, I believe, 2023 is when Smile came out. Maybe it was 2022. But this is a sequel to that film. I thought this film was much more intriguing, engaging, very, very fun as a horror film. Definitely gets you with some jump scares, which usually does not get me. So I loved that. Smile 2 for me. Won't talk too much about it. Like I said, I discussed it in my last video as well. But has to go up to Slap My Ass and Call Me Sally. If not, for Sky Riley alone. That one's for Sky. Okay, up next we have Lisa Frankenstein. And I really enjoyed Lisa Frankenstein. I think I wanted different things from the story than the film was prepared to give me. And because of that, I do think it lowered my enjoyment just a tad bit. But this is still a film that I really think about a lot. And I feel like is definitely rewatchable. I think about rewatching this one all the time. And I just know with my personality that this one is going to grow on me every single time I see it. So I'm going to stick it up in Friends till the end. This has Kat Newton and Cole Sprouse. I think both of them did amazing. It also has Carla Gugino, I think is how you say her last name. I've heard it pronounced so many ways, but I absolutely love her. She is the mom from the Spy Kids trilogy and so many other incredible things. Sucker Punch, Gerald's Game, the list goes on. Lisa Frankenstein, Friends to the end, surprisingly. Up next, we have The Substance, and I don't even have to say anything about The Substance. You guys know all about it. Demi Moore just won her Golden Globe for this role, which is the first time she's ever been acknowledged in this way for film ever. So that is incredibly exciting. I'm so happy for her. I'm so happy for the director and everyone involved with this. The Substance is batshit crazy, and that's really all I have to say about it. And it commits to the bit. You think it's going to let up, and it does not. It really commits to the bit. I'm going to put The Substance and Friends till the end. I do think that the ending could have been a little stronger for me, but I absolutely see the intention behind everything that happened, and I commend it 100%. I just don't think this one is quite as rewatchable as something like Smile 2 for me when it comes to a horror film. But incredibly done, stunning, performances are amazing. Introduced us to Margaret Qualley, whom I've realized I love. She is incredible. So, yeah, The Substance, Friends till the end. Next, we have Abigail, and I do have to say that Abigail disappointed me a little bit. And for me personally, it is because of the trailers, and I didn't even watch the full trailers because I just don't really do that these days. You learn everything in 2 minutes. So I feel like Abigail could have really benefited from not revealing the vampiric elements in the trailer and just saving that for the theater goers. That being said, it's still a really fun film. Kat Newton is also in this film along with Melissa Barrera, Dan Stevens, who has been making a name for himself. Yeah, Abigail is a fun action horror film. If you enjoy that type of story, I would say check it out. You're definitely not going to be disappointed. But for me, I did want something a little more. That being said, it's still a great, enjoyable time, so I'm going to put it in Welcome to Prime Time. Now, up next, we have an interesting one because we have A Quiet Place Day One, and when I saw this in theaters, I absolutely loved it, but it's not something that has stuck with me a ton since then. This is basically a prequel to the Quiet Place duology that we had gotten before, and the stars Lupita Nyong'o, and she is incredible in this film. She is playing a sick person. I believe she has cancer, and it's basically her and this guy on this emotional journey in the start of what is going to be the apocalypse. And I did really enjoy it, but like I said, it hasn't stuck with me a ton since I saw it, so it's gonna go in welcome to prime time. Now, up next, we have one of my favorite films of the year in Immaculate. Sydney Sweeney produced this film. She has been attached to this film forever. I talked a bit about it in my last video as well, so feel free to click over there and watch after this video. Immaculate was really, really strong. I loved what they were able to accomplish on what seemingly was a smaller budget. I think the ending was absolutely incredibly acted. Has a bit of a twist from what you would normally expect from a nun film. So for me, Immaculate easily goes in Friends till the end. Funnily enough, however, the tier list site has randomized these films. Up next, we have The First Omen, which is basically the same film as Immaculate, but in Immaculate, the main character is trying to bring forth the next coming of Jesus, whereas The First Omen, the main character is basically bringing forth the Antichrist. So they're a little bit of the inverse of each other. The First Omen, I'm going to be honest, when I saw this, I did not enjoy it. I gave it 1.5 stars. Do not get me wrong, the cinematography is absolutely stunning. The performances are incredible. Neil Tida Free, I think is her name, something like that. She was absolutely insane in this movie. Her body acting and body performance was crazy, but it was the actual film itself that just didn't do much for me. I felt like this was bloated and overstuffed. I felt the ending, feeling the need to tie into the original, really killed what could have been a pretty solid movie. But all that being said, and looking back over all of the films this year, this one was pretty solid overall, and I would like to rewatch this, so I'm going to also stick this one in welcome to primetime. So up next we have Saving Bikini Bottom. This is the Sandy Cheeks Netflix original movie. Talked about this in my last video. Did not love this. Didn't really find any fun family humor in this at all. I just kind of thought it was bland and disappointing because I love the SpongeBob movies. Even if I don't keep up with like the show anymore, I love the films. So yeah, this one I'm gonna have to say is a you can't sit with us. It isn't offensive necessarily, it's just not that great of a watch. So I can't see any adult person wanting to put this on and watch it without, having your kid or something there and like doing it for them. Up next, we have another film that I also wasn't that keen on when it came out. Winnie the Pooh Blood and Honey 2. I was quite a bit disappointed with this one because I was one of the few people who actually liked the first Winnie the Pooh Blood and Honey movie. And so this one I just felt got a little too out of hand, trying to make Winnie and Tigger and all these different characters be like Freddy Krueger characters. It just wasn't for me. This one, unfortunately, gets a get away from me, you bitch. I hope that I like the franchise moving forward because we got a lot of these fucking movies coming, you guys. Up next, we have a Shudder original film starring Samara Weaving. We have Azrael, and this is about a community of people who have basically been silenced in this post apocalyptic world where there are these monsters and there's all of this religious dogma kind of steering everyone in this world. I thought this could have been really interesting, but its lack of dialogue really kind of killed the film for me. I didn't think that it was a creative choice that was in any way beneficial to the final product. So, unfortunately, this one does stay in You Can't Sit With Us. And that's that on that. Up next, we have one of my top films of the year. This is one that I did talk about in the last video as well. We have Kinds of Kindness, and you guys already know this one is a slap my ass and call me Sally. I absolutely loved Kinds of Kindness. I felt all the tension, all the weariness, all the like ick, and I was still so intrigued. So really recommend Kinds of Kindness. I would say watch each of the 3 different stories within the film on different days. So maybe take 3 days before bed and just watch one story from it. For me, that was the best way to enjoy it personally. Up next, we have a bit of a controversial film because we have Alien Romulus, which by all accounts is a pretty great film overall, especially if you're a fan of like the classic Alien films. This kind of gives you everything that you've been wanting while also adding a horror spin at the end that maybe most of us didn't anticipate. I know I didn't. But this film does lose some points for me personally because of its what I would call a misuse of AI. I understand to a degree the desire to use this technology by the filmmakers. Like, I get it. But on the other hand, I can't say I get it because I feel like this story could have been told the exact same way, and you could have had any other, like, you could have had anyone else or any other robot or any other, artificial intelligence deliver what this computer animated character delivered, if that makes sense. So it does hold back for me a little bit. This would probably be a Friends to the End without that, but for me, Alien Romulus is just welcome to primetime. Did really enjoy it though. Outside of those scenes, there were just too many of those scenes for me to like turn my head the other way, unfortunately. Up next, we have a doozy. We have The Strangers Chapter 1. I feel like we all know like what I would say about The Strangers Chapter 1. Why are we making a remake? Why are we explaining things that no one ever asked questions to? Why are there 3 films already in the can? Like, I just have a lot of whys for The Strangers Chapter 1. And unfortunately, due to bad scripting and terrible character decisions, I am putting Chapter 1 and You Can't Sit With Us. Next, we have another actually, we have a few doozies coming up. We have Imaginary. I talked about this and the next film, which is Night Swim, in my last video, The Best and Worst of the Year. Spoiler alert for that video, but these were not great. I'm putting Imaginary and You Can't Sit With Us because I did find some redeemability there. Night Swim was truly atrocious. It's going to Get Away From Me, you bitch. Really can't understand this movie. Why was this made? Up next, we have a bit of a disappointment, but still a really great film in Maxine. I felt that the whodunit element of the script just really was so predictable from moment one. It did not work for me. However, stylistically, I think this film was really great in how it paid homage to like giallo horror, and then also kind of had a bit of commentary around satanic panic in the 80s. I thought that was really interesting. Of course, Mia Goth is going to be Mia Goth. She was giving. She was giving. Okay, so we love that. Overall, Maxine, unfortunately, goes to Welcome to Primetime. Or should I go till Friends to the End? Here's the thing. If I put it till Friends to the End, it's only because I have like such loyalty to this trilogy and to Mia Goth and Ty West. If I'm looking at this film alone, it's got to be in Welcome to Primetime. So that's where I'm going to leave it. And the same goes for this next film, Night Bitch. I really enjoyed this film. I thought Amy Adams delivered an incredible performance, of course, but this movie didn't go as hard as it needed to go for me to care where it landed as much as I should have cared. And that's really all I have to say about that one. Unfortunately, I really wanted to love it more, but I just thought it was fine. Okay, up next is a surprising one because we have Speak No Evil. I really was not interested in this. This was a Blumhouse movie after all the Blumhouse films we had at the beginning of the year that were not great. So I didn't know exactly how to feel about this one, but when I watched it, wow, did I love it. Did I call every moment from the first second? Yes, I did. I knew exactly what was going to happen throughout the entire, like literally every single twist that happened, I called it. But that didn't take away any enjoyment for me. I still really, really liked this film. And so I'm going to put this one, honestly, in Friends till the end because I thought Speak No Evil was pretty great. Up next, we have Blink Twice. I've already said everything I have to say about this film in the last video, but holy shit, I loved Blink Twice, and I was not expecting to. I thought it was going to be mid. I didn't think it would be bad, but I was expecting it to be mid. This is the first film directed by Miss Zoe Kravitz, starring Channing Tatum, and I thought it was excellent. Actually, it's a slap my ass and call me Sally because it's kind of a perfect film when you really think about it. You know? Up next, we have The Watchers. This was directed by M. Night Shyamalan's daughter, not the one who stars in Trap, a different daughter. But M. Night Shyamalan did produce this with her, and clearly so, because this is just another M. Night movie where it's like a cool, wacky concept, but it kind of falls flat by the end. It's gonna go in You Can't Sit With Us. I thought it was great to see Dakota Fanning back. We've not seen her in a hot minute, so that was amazing. But overall, this film just kind of spirals out of control. And then the ending, I think it thinks it's being smart, but it wasn't. So that's all I have to say. Up next, we have Harold and the Purple Crayon. I am not going to sit here and talk that much about Harold and the Purple Crayon, but here's my tea. For a family film, this was fun. Y'all gave it way too much hatred, and it's going in welcome to prime time, bitch. Up next, we have another surprise that I watched towards the end of December, and that is Drive Away Dolls. This stars Margaret Qualley, as well as one of the lead characters from Booksmart. I don't know her name. This was great though. I absolutely love this. It has Pedro Pascal is in it for a little bit. Drive Away Dolls, comedic, hilarious. Margaret Qualley's character is so great. This is a lesbian comedy. Absolutely loved Drive Away Dolls. Same thing up next with this lesbian horror thriller film, Love Lies Bleeding. This is directed by Rose Glass, the same director as Saint Maud. It's just a crime family thriller, basically, drama thriller. And I absolutely loved it. It gets a little bit surrealist towards the end, so that might throw you off of its scent a little bit if you're not into that. But it worked for me upon hindsight and really thinking about the film and what it was. Love Lies Bleeding is great. It's going to go in Friends till the end. Up next, we have Terrifier 3. And simply because of how much I dislike Terrifier 2, I think Terrifier 3 has to go into Slap My Ass and Call Me Sally. I thought this film was great. They towed the line of what is acceptable. They definitely pushed it. They were a bit edgy with this film, but in a way that didn't feel super exploitive or nasty and gross like I felt Terrifier 2 felt. More on that in my last video. I believe this was in my top 10 of the year. Up next, we have Apartment 7A, and let's just not beat around the bush. This is going to go and You Can't Sit With Us. This isn't the worst thing I've ever seen, but it's repetitive, it is unnecessary, and I don't think it's anywhere near as good as Rosemary's Baby, so just watch Rosemary's Baby. Next, we have a long awaited sequel, like decades awaited, and that is Twisters. I love the original Twister. It's my mom's like favorite movie, so I have a great bit of nostalgia for that one. I was really not sure how I was going to feel about Twisters, so I am so excited to say when I went and saw it that I loved it, and it is going to go into Friends till the end. I thought the way they inversed the story in places, used callbacks in a way that didn't feel super fan servicey, and I liked how this was kind of its own thing. The soundtrack was terrible, lots of country music, so if you're a bumpkin, love that for you. However, me, I escaped the country life. So up next we have The Crow, and I know all you bitches hate The Crow, but for me, this one's easily Friends till the end. I love The Crow. I defended The Crow in the last video as well, so that's all I have to say about it. Check out that video. Up next, we have Am I Okay? This is actually a 2002 film directed by Tig Notaro from Star Trek Discovery, as well as some other things. She's a comedian, I believe. While this was released in 2022 for the festival circuits, it was not released to the public until 2024, so that is why it's here. This is a lesbian rom-com basically, and I really enjoyed this one. I don't think there's like too much that's that special or unique about it, but I just love Dakota Johnson and I love seeing her on screen, so this one worked for me. I'm putting this one in Welcome to Primetime. All right, up next we have a pretty disappointing film with Salem's Lot. Unfortunately, I think that there is probably a great gothic vampire horror film sitting in Warner Brothers on a shelf somewhere. But unfortunately, the cut that we got has to go to You Can't Sit With Us because why? Like, why does everything look so beautiful but feel so dull? I truly can't wrap my mind around it. I love Salem's Lot, the novel. I think it's a perfect slow burn, and this film just rushed through everything. Up next, we have Cuckoo, and I've heard kind of things all over the board. People either love or hate Cuckoo. Me personally, I enjoyed it. I thought it was pretty good. I think the scares are pretty good. The story did get a little too bizarro and out there for me, but I still really enjoyed the performances. This has Dan Stevens and Hunter Schafer, and I love Hunter Schafer. I think she's an incredible actress. Cuckoo for me is going to go into primetime. Up next, we do have another film that I discussed in my last video. That is Your Monster. Your Monster really, really surprised me. I loved this movie. I expected it to just be kind of mid, And from the way everyone discussed it online, it seemed like that's what was going to happen. But for me, I really, really enjoyed this. I think the performances are incredible. I love kind of the cliffhanger feeling of the ending and what it does to your mind and making you wonder what actually happens next to the character. Yeah, Your Monster for me was really great. For now, I'm going to stick it in Friends Till the End, but that one could potentially go into Slap My Ass and Call Me Sally. Okay, up next we have Civil War. I really enjoyed Civil War, but it's not something that's really sat with me like I thought it would. I think that because of how vague the politics of the movie are, which I do think is a benefit to the film because anyone can watch it and enjoy it and take away something from it, but because of how vague it all is, it doesn't feel that important. I feel like it almost lessens the impact of the film. Maybe you disagree, which I fully understand if you do. But for me, Civil War is just going to land in Welcome to Primetime. Really good film. Up next, we have Uglies. I'm sure if you even know what Uglies is, you absolutely hated the movie. But I rather enjoyed Uglies for what it is. It was giving flashback to Hunger Games, or more specifically, Divergent and The Maze Runner, because The Hunger Games is way too good to be classified with this film. But, it was giving that YA dystopian era. This one's kind of actually the OG when you think about the novels of the 2000s dystopian era. So, yeah, glad to see it finally get a movie. I do wish that they would make a sequel, but for terrible decision-making reasons on their end, I don't think that's going to happen for them. Up next, we have Joker Folie à Deux, and you guys already know that I am controversial with this one. I am going to put it in. Oof. I think I'm going to put it in Friends to the End. Maybe Slap My Ass and Call Me Sally. We'll see where I land when we get there, but I really enjoyed the Joker. I've already discussed why in my last video, so I'm not going to get into that. Up next, we have The Fall Guy. I thought The Fall Guy was really, really fun. As a filmmaker myself, I really enjoyed the filmmaking aspects within the movie. I thought that was really interesting. Some of it not super accurate, but overall, I feel like most of it was. And yeah, The Fall Guy was really fun, so it's going to go in Welcome to Primetime. Really, really great movie. The scene of Ryan Gosling crying in his truck to Taylor Swift is truly peak cinema. Peak cinema. Up next, we have Tarot. I did not hate Tarot. I thought Tarot was like pretty fun. I'm gonna stick it in Welcome to Primetime. Not great kills. Pretty atrocious dialogue. Cutaways from kills to just the whole thing that you expect in like a studio PG-13 horror film in 2024. This has all of those things, but I did find it entertaining. I thought it was like endearing in a way. It's definitely something I would throw on at like a Halloween party and watch again. So, yeah, I thought it was fine. Unfrosted, discussed this in the last video as well. It's fine. If you're just in the mood for like a fun comedy, throw it on. You're probably not going to remember it 6 months from now, the same way I don't remember much about it. But it's a fun time. Up next, we have Beetlejuice. Beetlejuice. I really wish that this was a Slap My Ass and Call Me Sally, but unfortunately, due to an overstuffed script, so much to the point that you don't actually get satisfying endings to most of the plot lines, Beetlejuice is just going in Welcome to Primetime. I do hope we get a third one, but I hope it's a little bit better paced and that there's a little bit less going on within the film so that we can get a more satisfying third act in the third film. The Front Room, get away from me, you bitch. I hated this movie. I think this is one of the worst films I've ever seen, actually, because the more you think about it, the more you realize I did not need to be there. So, yeah, The Front Room, not for me. It's just gross for no reason. It delivers no message at the end of the day. Every sort of messaging it tries to hit is just very vague and underwhelming. Madam Web, you guys already know, this is like my favorite bad movie of the year, so it's just gonna go to Welcome to Primetime. I love Dakota Johnson. I have no other excuse for myself except for that. Late Night with the Devil, I thought was pretty interesting. I do think it gets a bit boring throughout, and for that, I'm going to put it in Welcome to Primetime. But I think conceptually, it's really cool. This one also did have a controversy regarding AI usage within the film. However, I find it to be a bit hilarious because this film used AI to create a poster that exists within the movie, whereas Alien Romulus created a whole AI character who's been dead for decades in the real world. And no one seemed to bat an eye at that, but everyone was mad at Late Night with the Devil. So, Inside Out 2, welcome to prime time. Inside Out 2 was pretty great, but it's not as good as the original Inside Out because you can't break barriers twice, I mean, you can, but they didn't. Up next, we have Queer, and I do feel like this is a film that will change my perception of it as I rewatch it. But upon first watch, this felt like it was poorly paced and just a little bit too fragmented for me. And I like artsy fartsy shit, but this just really struggled to keep my attention. I think there's probably a beautiful film here, to be honest, but based on my current thoughts after one watch of this film, I'm gonna have to put Queer in You Can't Sit With Us. Up next, we have Trapped, and while I didn't rate Trapped like super low, I think I gave it like 3 stars. Just upon reflection, you realize how aimless and stupid and pointless this movie truly was. And because of that, and all of the plot contrivances and all of the terrible choices that were made in this production, I'm gonna have to put it in Get Away From Me, You Bitch. Up next, we actually have a really interesting one for me because when I saw this film originally, I hated it. I thought it was way too overhyped. I did not think it was scary at all, and I still agree with those sentiments. But upon rewatch, I actually enjoyed it a lot more. I don't think it's an incredible film by any means. I don't think it's like top tier cinema. But I really ended up enjoying Longlegs, truthfully. So I'm going to stick Longlegs in Welcome to Primetime. Next, we have kind of an underrated film, or I guess just kind of under the radar film, I guess is a better way to say that. But we have Skincare, and this is a thriller suspense type film starring Elizabeth Banks. Yeah, Elizabeth Banks. And I really enjoyed this. It's, just a high stakes drama, competitive, like business competition. It definitely does things that you don't expect this film to do when you're watching it. And that's what I'll say about it. I don't think it's incredible by any means, but I do think it's a solid watch. I would like to own this film and rewatch it in the future. And so I'm going to stick it in Welcome to Primetime. Welcome to Primetime just has most of the movies, which I guess makes sense. Up next, we have Wicked. I think Wicked is a great film for what it is. It's obviously a huge fucking blockbuster. Everyone loves it. And I think it's really strong. It really hit me emotionally in ways I wasn't expecting. I saw Wicked, the stage play in London last year, and it didn't really do much for me. So when the film actually struck an emotional chord, I was kind of shocked by that and really impressed by that. I really enjoyed it though, and I think it deserves a probably top spot in Welcome to Primetime. Oh, up next, another controversial take. For me, Deadpool and Wolverine is a You Can't Sit With Us. I just didn't think this film was all that great, to be honest. It was full of fan service and references from like 2002, and I love that for fans of those characters. I'm glad you got to see them come back, but at what cost? Because we got a whole movie to watch them come back in a way that's not really effective or really doesn't mean anything moving forward. So for me, it just like it feels like a waste of a film. It feels like the waste of an end of a trilogy, but I'm sure there's going to be more Deadpool movies, so no worries there. This thing made a shit ton of money. Up next, we have another Luca Guadagnino film with Challengers, and Challengers is really good. I gotta stick Challengers up in Friends Till the End because as much as I probably won't rewatch this movie a ton, it rightfully deserves its place among the top films of the year. The ending just really like gets you excited about tennis in a way that I've never been excited about tennis before. So, yeah, Challengers. Who knew? And up next, we have another disappointing film that I don't think was the worst thing I've ever seen, but I think entirely misses the point of why the original film was made, and that was the Mean Girls musical from 2024. I forget the girl's name that plays Regina George, but outside of her, I just felt like most of the people in this film were miscast. I definitely think the actress who played Katie Heron was wildly miscast. I do not think she pulled off the role at all. She clearly did not have the vocals to carry a lot of the music, so a lot of it from the musical was omitted. I just don't think that Mean Girls the musical was that great. Let's go through and actually rank the films though. Let's do that. And there you have it. That is my final tier list for all 55 films that I watched in 2024. Be sure to leave your thoughts down below. I would love to conversate about all of these films with you. And yeah, like I said, be sure to subscribe, ring the bell so you know when I post new content, and I will see you all in the next video. Until then, be sure to keep it peaceful. Bye.